guys, and welcome back to another video with your host, as always, K-Mac time. Now today we're taking a look at some of the darkest and creepiest moments in Disney's history. Of course, we're talking about the top 10 deaths in Disney. Now some of these have been absolutely creepy and just kind of mind-blown moments. You would never think that Disney would put anything like this into children's movies. After all, they're known for their moving stuff, their touching stuff, the stuff that makes you feel good and warm and fuzzy inside. You don't really remember the moments like this, but some of these are absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and jump right into it with our first one, which is from the movie Tarzan. Now this movie is very, very popular. It's about a man raised by apes in the jungle. Very, very popular, well-known movie, but what you may not remember is the part where Clayton accidentally hangs himself. This takes part in a part of the movie where he's chasing Tarzan through the jungle. He gets wrapped up in the vines and he tries to cut himself loose with a machete, and Tarzan warns him not to, but he does it anyway. He ends up hanging himself. Very, very dark for a children's movie. Next up, we have from the Brave Little Toaster, we have a scene in the movie that was called Worthless. Now this entire scene, it takes place in the junkyard where all the main characters have found their way after they've been discarded, they've been thrown away by their owner, they're no longer wanted. And in this scene, all of the junkyard cars are singing this show tune called Worthless, about being worthless and about not being useful to society anymore. And as this is going on, they're actually being crushed by the car crusher, and they're actually being made into tiny little cubes. And while this is happening, you're seeing the deaths of maybe 25 to 30 different characters. As they're singing all the way to their deaths. Pretty creepy for a mind of a child to wrap around that. But moving on to our next one, which is the death of Ursula in The Little Mermaid. Now, if you don't remember anything about this movie, very, very, very popular movie from Disney. Basically, Ursula is the main bad person in the movie, and it ends up, at the very end, there's a giant battle, and they ended up running a ship through her. Absolutely insane how her death is. It's kind of violent for a Disney movie, and it's kind of creepy as well, but that's kind of the part of the movie you don't really remember. That's kind of the reoccurring theme here, is you don't really remember all these dark moments until you take a step back and look at them again. But moving on to our number 7, which is my personal favorite, not death, of course, my personal favorite Disney movie is The Lion King. Now, there's been lots of moments in The Lion King, like Scar's death, for example, could have been on this list, but I thought that Mufasa's death was even more touching because it really brings out a lot of emotions from the viewer, because it's the sense of betrayal from his brother, which is brought obviously from the Hamlet, because it's based on the Hamlet. But very, very emotional part of this movie where Mufasa dies and Simba witnesses it, and then from that part of the movie it takes a total turn towards where the movie is going to go. But a very, very eerie death scene indeed. Coming in at number 6 on the list is Littlefoot's mother's death in The Land Before Time. Now this is one of the most emotional scenes in the history of Disney. If you go back and watch this, you have a hard time not crying, because it is so, the feels guys, they're just there. He tells him that she'll be with him, even though he can't see her, and he asks her, "What do you mean if you can't see me?" And it's heart-touching stuff. Take a second. Heart-touching stuff there from Disney. Very, very creepy, dark scene, emotionally wise for children. Next up at number 5, we have the Hunchback of Notre Dame. We have the death of Claude Frollo. Very, very violent death scene here. It is set up above this giant, like, magma pit, and you think he's going to kill the protagonist, the Hunchback, and out of nowhere, this giant, creepy gargoyle he's standing on comes to life, and it's scary as hell. It's really, really scary for anyone that's under the age of 10 to watch this. And then he falls into a giant pit of lava. Boom, mind blown, and forever nightmares for that for children. Especially, I remember watching it as a kid. That came out when I was around that age, and I remember that scene kind of in my head giving me nightmares for quite some time. But definitely a creepy scene. If you want to go back and rewatch it, very, very creepy. Next up at number 4 is, of course, the classic. You can't have a Disney's death list without this one. Of course, I'm talking about Bambi's mother. This might be the most popular Disney death of all time. but it's not really the most tragic. I mean, it's heartbreaking and whatever, but it's not as dark and cynical as some of the ones we're going to get into later in this list. But it is a very, very important death scene in the history of Disney, because it showed very early on that Disney was willing to go to just basically go there. They were going to show things like death. They were going to show heartbreak. They weren't all just smiles and sunshine. And that's why Disney really got that cutting edge back in the day, I believe. They really showed that they would go out there and take risks, which is why I like Disney a whole lot. Now, coming in at number 3 is another scene from Brave Little Toaster. Now, this movie is full of weird death scenes kind of thrown up there, but this one really takes the cake, and this is where the air conditioner commits suicide. Now, if you know anything about this movie, the background is they're all alive machines, and their owner left, and they're all lonely. They're stuck in this cottage for quite some time without anybody, and they're all kind of giving up hope. And you can tell from the disposition of the air conditioner that he's given up hope on the owner ever coming back, and he gets super frustrated, and he ends up blowing a fuse. And by blowing a fuse on purpose, he commits suicide. And it's kind of a creepy take on it, a creepy spin on suicide here by Disney, which is a recurring theme, I might add, coming up in some of these other ones. Now, coming in, like I said, at number 2, another suicide in Disney. This is Zara's or Zara's. I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name. I think it's Zara's. But from The Lion King 2, which is a terrible, terrible spin-off sequel to the first one. Nowhere near as good, in my opinion. But there is a scene, actually this was taken out of the original movie and redone from the original cut, because Disney figured it was actually too dark for children. So they actually went back and reanimated it. But what you guys are going to be seeing is the actual original scene, where instead of falling from the cliffside, she actually purposely lets go and commits suicide rather than taking the help. And that is just creepy. The smile on her face as she falls to her death is absolutely cynical, and it's kind of creepy even for Disney, but I like them for going there. I like this. I wish they wouldn't have taken it out. And finally, our number 1 on the list comes from us from a kind of obscure Disney movie called The Black Cauldron. It's kind of older, wasn't quite as popular, but this has got some dark, dark overtones to it. There's a lot of death in this movie, tons of it actually. This might be Disney's darkest movie. You could probably make a whole, I could probably make a whole video on just how the darkest moments from this specific movie. That's how dark this movie really is. But the ending sequence has got a particularly dark part, where the dog, Gorgie, commits suicide. Now in this, it talks about the whole movie, how he wasn't brave and how he wasn't, you know, willing to take risks, but at the very end, he comes through, he saves his friends, and then he jumps into the cauldron to save them even more. And there's a creepy part of the text where he says that Gorgie has no friends, Gorgie will jump, and then he just dives to his death. Like, that's clearly the most messed up suicide scene in all of Disney. This one wasn't even like a maybe suicide, like, oh, she maybe like in the last one she may have slipped off the cliff and just, you know, slipped to her death and not committed suicide. This was a clear-cut suicide in a very, very creepy way for a Disney character to end. Very, very dark. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this list. Hopefully you guys can leave some comments down in the comment section. I know that there are other ones that I could have touched on, like Scar, like I said earlier, from The Lion King, or other characters that have died. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I would love to know what I missed, who you think should have made this list, and where I messed up, because I know I've messed up somewhere. Also, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. You guys can hit that like button down below. It'd be very much appreciated. It helps out my channel immensely, guys, when you guys do that. When you guys like and share, it helps my channel grow, and I appreciate that. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, get more of these videos in your sub box. I try to do 3-4 a week. Out for you guys, roughly, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what I'm doing that week. As always, there is a code word you guys can put in the comment section that will let me know that you guys made it all the way through the end of this video. And you guys can go ahead and drop the word toothpick in the comment section. I know you guys made it all the way through and are in fact some of the coolest cats on the entire internet. But that's all we have time for, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, that's always KMAC time somewhere. Until next time, guys, take it easy and peace out.